me now, I ain't no holy individual, but I am righteous. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna steal from you, I'm not gonna cheat you. I'm gonna tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. That's it.
Yo.
Macapella was good. Was good, my digger.
Well, it's good, man. 2 seconds. 2 secs. Should be coming through the mic rather than my laptop mic.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, my digger. Loud and clear.
Nice one. You good, bro?
Oh, yeah. Nice. Was good, my digger.
Yeah, man. I'm all good. I'm all good. Just sitting chilling.
You know what? It's crazy because I thought you were from Sweden for some reason.
Nah, Scotland.
Scotland. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I thought you was from Sweden. I don't know why I thought you was from Sweden or whatever. Now, is it Macapella or Macapella?
Macapella.
Macapella, like acapella.
Yeah, like a cappella, but with an M at the front.
Right. Where's that name come from?
My surname's McFarlane, so it's quite a Scottish surname, right? And like just one night I was making beats and my mate's like, you know, you don't do acapellas, you do macapellas. And I was like, that's kind of a cool name. So I just kind of went with it. Even though like I don't rap, you know, it'd be quite a good name for a rapper, I think. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it's just kind of a bit of a play on a musical term and the fact that my surname's McFarlane. So yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. So let's talk about the beats, man. Like I was going through your page, and you have a lot of your beats sound very musical. Do you play?
Yeah, so like by trade, I guess you'd say, like initially, like I'm a guitar player. I always had dreams of like being out there, being like the next Stevie Ray Vaughan or the next BB King, Albert King. I was like a real blues player. I played drums in bands for a number of years. So when I kind of go into like making beats and production, I kind of think of it from all aspects of, you know, how would a band play this kind of thing. So when you say musical, yeah, there's a lot of chord changes and kind of things going on. So that probably stems from that, more than likely.
Okay. Right, because I was listening to you sound like, yo, your beats sound real clean. Like it's not like dirty.
Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to work on a little bit because like the dirtiness is nice, like, but when we work in like these digital environments on like music software like Logic or Pro Tools, whatever, everything's so fucking clean. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I've always liked like really classic rock records and stuff that's really beautifully mixed. So I guess, you know, some of the cleanness maybe comes from that, but I am quite conscious of trying to saturate my beats and run a lot of tape emulation and some analog outboard gear, stuff like that too, to try and help give it a bit more of that flavor, because that's what all those classic records were made on, right? Old drum machines and old tape machines and going through, you know, nice mixing consoles and all that kind of shit. So
right, because going through your page, I was like, I don't see a turntable. It's like kind of like, you know, but I did, but then later on you kind of pulled the tape back. I'm like, oh, okay, there's the turntable. So are you digging for records?
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Okay.
All the time, man. Always on the lookout. But I'm one of these guys that kind of believes in I don't care where it comes from.
Right.
See, if it comes from a vinyl, great. But you know what? I don't give a fuck if it comes from YouTube. If it sounds dope, it sounds dope. So I dig anywhere. Digitally and, you know, the analog way, if you know what I mean. Old school way. So yeah.
Right. So are you digging more toward vinyl, or are you digging more online now? Because like eventually you got to run out of room for records.
Yeah, for sure. And for cash as well. You know, it's an expensive habit.
Yes, it is.
But what I will say is there's some really, really great producers and musicians out there making some incredible sample packs. You know, and I think, you know, some people might not think that it's, you know, the right way to do things, the classic way to do it. But there's some guys out there making some phenomenal sounding stuff. Guys like Kingpin and, you know, the Smuggled Keys series, all that kind of stuff. The Sample Lab, all these guys, they're all making some really dope, authentic sounding samples that we as beat makers can then take, that you know, it has that sound, and then flip it and make beats out of it. You know, dig everywhere, man, everywhere, anywhere.
So when you first started making beats, what was the first piece of equipment what were you using?
So the first thing I had was like many years ago when I was a teenager. I'm 38 now, right? So back in those days, we used to have the old Tascam Porta Studios, the old tape machine 4-track.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, man. So I used to use like that with my guitar and like a little Casio keyboard and a little drum machine, and started like kind of making beats and kind of songs and stuff from there, I would guess. And then it kind of really progressed later on as I went into my 20s, and sort of home recording became really viable with the computer, all that sort of shit. About maybe 2004, got a cracked copy of Fruity Loops. And I used that for, I would say probably 10 years, 11 years, something like that.
Right.
Just a PC and Fruity Loops.
Right. So you're basically software based.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Software based. You know, a lot of producers I've interviewed, they were into the MPC or the SP1200s, the ASR10, which is a classic machine. But you went pretty much from the Tascam straight to software. Now, do you feel there's a difference? Do you feel there's a difference between software and hardware?
Yeah, I do, because back in the early days on Fruity Loops, I don't know like what you use if you were making beats yourself, but a lot of guys use Fruity Loops, and it's very easy just kind of put stuff in. It's super quantized, you just bang it all on the grid and plot it all in, and it sounds kind of cool. But there's something about the human element of playing something, and you know, like you might still chop up drums, but there's a human element, that unquantized sort of thing when you're kind of playing it in naturally. So I try to combine the two by just using like a good MIDI keyboard and the software, so I can still play stuff in it.
So that's that keyboard I see in front of your equipment. Okay, gotcha. I was wondering, like everything seems so digital. Your lab seems so digitized. You know, it seems real digitized or whatever. So you are quantizing drums now. When it comes to your drums, are you getting your drums off of vinyl, or are you getting packs? How are you getting your drums?
So I've got my drums from a number of sources. You know, I've been obviously making beats for a long time. So I've, you know, caught many breaks. You know, I've cut loads of breaks off of vinyl. I'm not going to lie, man. Like I've used, you know, individual drum hits and stuff from places like Splice and all these kind of things too. I don't see the problem. If it sounds good, it sounds good. And I kind of use anything from anywhere. I don't really mind where it comes from. So yeah, it's kind of how it goes with me.
So would you loop up a drum break if it sounds dope?
Would I what? Sorry?
Would you loop up a drum break if it sounds dope?
Of course.
Okay, right. Because a lot of times, you know, with me, because I'm a beat maker. This is a beat maker, and you can tell by the questions I ask. You know, I'm a beat maker. That's what makes it so ill. This, you know, so. You know, you finger drumming, like you're hitting the pads and things like that. Now, do you quantize your drums?
Some aspects I might do, right? So how I would do that might be, I might have all my snares like quantized, but my hi-hats are kind of sliding about all over the place. Kick drum might be, again, it depends on like what I'm working with in terms of like melody, harmony, whether that's a sample or stuff I played in on the keys or whatever. So some aspects I do, but there's no hard and fast rule with me. Like sometimes I quantize all the drums. This is what I used to do a lot on Fruity, because you would just kind of plot it all in, bang, bang, bang. I would kind of manipulate the sample to give the drums the feeling that they were moving and weren't quantized. It was actually the sample making the drums feel unquantized. I don't know if that makes sense, but that is what happens sometimes. So, dude, I'll be honest, man. I just mix and match. You know, sometimes I really want lazy hi-hats, but I want the snare kind of really ahead of the beat, that kind of J Dilla feel. Then I'll be super unquantized. Like, but sometimes, you know, just a straight beat kind of works when you're doing more. I always think more sort of West Coast style stuff from the 90s, that kind of vibe. More quantized drums kind of are appropriate in that situation. Just
now, are you when it comes to making a beat, are you looking for the sample? What starts your beats? The drums or the sample?
Usually like melody, so samples, string section, piano. That's usually what gets me going, and then I'm thinking, okay, what kind of drums would I put on this? How would the drums sound? How would I like them to sound? And it's generally always the excuse me, generally always the sample. There are some times though, now and again, where you'll get a really dope break. You might chop it up, you might loop it, it depends.
Right.
And then you've kind of got that dope set of drums running, and then you're kind of then trying out samples and different sounds and breaks and all sorts of things from records or sample packs, whatever, over the top until you find something that works. But 95% of the time, it's the melody.
Now, when it comes to drums, do you have a Macapella set of drums, or you always going for new drums every time you make a beat? Like, I'm gonna dig for new drums.
No, I've got go-tos, man. I've got go-to kicks and snares and things that just have a sound and a vibe that are just perfect for sometimes what I'm trying to capture. I think the good thing is I've got a huge selection to kind of pick from what I've dug over the years. But I am always looking for new breaks. I'm currently remixing Huss Kingpin's Polo release, the one he dropped dropped back in April. So I'm actually in the middle of doing that just now. And I've used a few snares and a couple of kicks that I've used on other records before. They sound good. So
now, because what I've noticed as a beat maker, a lot of times we have all these drum sounds, but we always got these go-to favorites. Do you have these go-to favorites? It's just like you can have 100 drum sounds, but does that narrow it down to those same like 10 sounds that you like? Do you have that?
Yeah, of course I do. I've got ones, just like I said, just a minute ago, ones that I feel like I can go to any time. If I need a really snappy snare in a particular sort of pitch, a tone, a certain timbre for what I'm looking for, then I'll use it. A lot of the times I'm also stacking up drums as well. It might be quite subtle, but I'm stacking them up. So you might find that I've got a snare in a track that was also on a track that I just released 3 months ago. It'll be layered in there somewhere. It's maybe not so obvious, but it is there.
Right. So when it comes to
got them, man.
Absolutely. So when it comes to like samples, what are you looking for in the sample nowadays? Do you have a certain genre? Is there a certain era that you look for, or is this whatever that sounds good?
I love pianos. I'm not gonna lie on that. I am like a sucker for, a really, particularly in minor keys, pianos, solo. I always look for like interesting chord changes as well. That's always something I kind of look for.
Right.
But yeah, pianos are the ones that always tend to get me.
So would you say it's more like you're looking in a classical section when you're digging?
Not really, no. It's kind of more like if I see something that's got like piano keys on the cover, something like that.
Right.
That's probably going to be an instant buy.
Right.
Because I look for those things, particularly jazz records as well. Jazz piano records, they're always a bit of a favorite of mine too. But again, man, like a lot of times I'll sample things just because it's caught my ear. I've got a friend of mine, he's always on YouTube looking at stuff, and he'll say, "Oh, here, man, you might be able to flip this into a beat. Check this out." And I'll be like, "Oh, cool, man." So
gotcha. So like when it comes to like looping versus chopping, how do you know when it's time to loop that sample and just let it rock, or just chop it up? How do you know when it's like without messing up the groove, like, yo, I need to chop this?
When I'm working with things that don't necessarily have an obvious BPM. So like if I've got a dope 4-bar string break and I can hear the shaker going in the background, it's in that nice 75 to 95 BPM range, I'll probably just like loop that and adjust the pitch until I get it into the BPM I'm looking for. But sometimes, I'll chop up things because you'll hear, I don't know, like synthesizers, things like that. You hear a low sort of droning note and then some chords over the top, and there's no real sort of time signature or BPM to it. But then I might be like, right, let's chop those chords and then let's trigger them over a drum break and see what sort of melody or what sort of vibe we can make with those particular chops. So yeah, it's kind of how I approach it. I kind of let the sample dictate to me sometimes what I feel like I should do with it.
So how do you know when to add a bass line and when not to add a bass line? I mean, do you think every beat needs to have a bass line in it, or it's like, I'm good? You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know when, sometimes, you put a bass line in, or do you let the bass, to pull the bass out of the sample?
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes it depends again on what the bass is doing. That sample's kind of talking to me and letting me know, where I think I should take it. So if I feel like it needs some structure, it needs some support, I might play in some bass underneath it. If I feel like it's one of these ones, I could double it up and then just put a high cut on it and just filter all the lows and just leave them and then kind of beef up the bottom end of the sample. Then I might just do that. I never sort of have a hard or fast rule. I don't think there's a right or wrong. I think it depends on just what it is that you're working with. That kind of dictates the flow. At least for me anyway. That's quite an ambiguous answer, but
So judging from your answers and what you're talking about, you sound like a feeling producer, not a technical producer. You go by what feels good, not what's technically right and exact.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. It's all about the feel. It's all about, I could make it all technically correct and super quantized and everything's absolutely perfect. Right. And it's got no movement, it's got no air to it, it's got no feeling. I think with the technical side of things, that's where I come into play as a mixer, because I also do a lot of mixing for people as well. So my technical skills maybe then more fall to, I've got a really dope idea here, I feel it. Now let's use some technical skills in terms of EQing, compression, yada yada yada, to then bring it up to the level that's required to compete commercially.
Right. It's crazy, because I think some of the dopest producers to me are feeling producers, and the ones that are technical, those are the ones that are selling sample kits. They're doing tutorials online, but their beats don't, like, I'm always on YouTube and I'm watching a lot of different producers or whatever that's dealing with beats, and I always felt like the ones who were like feeling based, they make the dopest beats. The ones that are so technical and this quantized, you chop at this millisecond, and they're not as dope, but you can learn from them because you can learn techniques from them. Have you noticed that? Like a lot of technical based producers, they're not really as dope as the feeling based producers.
I don't know about like not really as dope, but I know what you mean. Like your point. For me, it's about a certain sort of movement in your track. I think that the feeling producers have more of that movement where it feels like, J Dilla, I always think is the best example. It kind of feels like it's at the point where it's going out of time, but it's not.
Right.
Do you know? And that's a real sort of feeling producer. I think the technical guys on YouTube, it's more, I think, that they know so much that, sometimes being armed with some basic skills and not a lot of knowledge forces you to be more creative, to think differently, to approach things differently. Whereas maybe the more technical guys know so much that it's easy to do too much. Perhaps that's maybe a different way of putting it.
Yeah. Absolutely. So how do you know when the beat is done? Like you've done enough, or you haven't done enough?
Because it feels right. Because to me, I kind of think of it, it's like, how does somebody who's never heard this song, what are they going to think? How can I take them through what is, let's be honest, quite a repetitive thing, 4 or 8 or 16 bar hip hop loop. It can be quite repetitive. What I learn a lot of tricks from are the guys that make a lot of dance records, because they're making super repetitive music, but they can make it move for 5, 6, 7 minutes. So I've got to think to myself, it's like, if somebody then sits down and listens to this, how can I make it so that it's repetitive, but it's not repetitive? And when I feel like I've hit it, I leave it. Sometimes you go back and you tweak things later on, maybe drop a little break in there or a little tape stop or whatever fancy little sprinkles you need at the end. But for the most part, it's I just kind of know when I feel like it's done and I'm happy with it. That's usually enough for me. So
right. So when it comes to, like, let me get my words right, BPMs, what are your BPMs, your range when it comes to like making beats? Do you have a certain range that you stick with?
Yeah, I've got like,
does the sample determine your BPM? I'm a beat maker. I'm asking you beat maker questions, man. We doing beat science.
Yeah. like let me put it this way, I've got a sweet spot, right? I love to make stuff between about 82 and 88. That's like my sort of favorite little zone in there, right?
Right.
But yes, sometimes the sample will dictate that. I think sometimes when I chop samples more, then I kind of naturally seem to sort of rescind into that sort of zone again, that sort of 82 to 88 kind of zone. But the sample, yeah, the sample dictates kind of what BPM it is, particularly if I'm chopping, then it tends to get quicker. So
right. So right now I'm currently going through something called beat block. Okay. You know, I'm no longer digging for records like that because I don't, you know, I live in a 2-bedroom townhouse. I don't have time. I mean, I have the time, but I don't have the space for these records. So I'm going through YouTube and I'm playing over and over and over again. It's just not coming to me. Do you go through that?
Yeah, I do. Honestly, man. See, some weeks I'll sit down and I'll make beats 4 nights out of the 7. See, the next week I might sit down once, and even then that might be for like 45 minutes. I wouldn't say that it's block. There are times where I kind of feel like, oh, I really want to sit down and make beats, and then I do, and it's just not happening. The first thing I do, I just walk away, man. Like, I just go, fuck it. Like, yeah, I'm not even going to sit here and bang my head up against the wall tonight. Like, I'm not up for it. And I'll just go and fucking do something else. Pretty much. And yeah, I get those blocks, but generally it's the block for me isn't when I sit down. It's more just like I feel like making tracks right now, and I get this feeling in my stomach. I've had it all my life. It's like I feel like I've just got to go and start making music right now.
Right.
And if I've got that feeling, I'll go and do it. There are other days I sit here and I'm just like, you know, I'm also mixing a lot for clients and doing a lot of other recording work and mixing and mastering work for other people for stuff that I'm not involved in a production or songwriting aspect.
Right.
So that also takes up a lot of my time too. So it's kind of like when I want to make beats or sit down, I'll just go and do it. If I'm not feeling like it, I just don't.
So when you're on that beat making spree, how many beats are you pretty much making in a day? When you're on your spree, you just banging out. How many beats are you making?
It used to be like 3 or 4, but now it's like in a session, I would probably say I might make at a max 3, but it's usually no more than 2 in a session.
Okay.
Because I want to focus on quality ideas. So for me, it's about, like I just said to you a minute ago, if I'm sitting there and I'm going, this isn't happening, I'm not feeling this just isn't working tonight, I just leave. See if it is working, then I'll get something going. And generally what I'll do is I'll work to the point where it's finished.
Right.
That means that it's like it's mixed, it's mastered, it's got everything done to it so that it's ready to go to somebody for whatever it needs to be sent to them for, you know?
Right.
But because of that, you know, I used to sit there and be like, oh, churning out loads of beats, am I amazing? No, I was actually making a lot of shit 90% of the time. Whereas, as I said, you know, now I want to sit down and I just want to work on quality ideas and make sure whenever I finish every session, I've got an absolute fucking belter of a beat, boom, ready to go into the folder for the next beat tape, the next project, the next person that's hitting me up for beats.
Right.
So about quality, man.
So let's moving forward. When it's time to send artists beats, are you sending them stems, or is they have to 2-track it? Or have you mixed the beat already and they just can 2-track it? How do you do that?
Yep, they're all mixed down, ready to go as stereo wave files, mixed and mastered. Because the reason I master them as instrumentals is when I send somebody beats, I don't want my beats to sound quiet as fuck, and then they go and play somebody else's beat next to it, and it's all like bang, loud in your face. I need to make sure that I've got that commercial volume, so when you hear that you're sitting going, oh shit, man, that's banging.
So basically, when you send the beat out, the MC ain't got to do nothing but just rhyme to it. Everything's good. And that's because
sorry, all I was going to say is I always ask for them to send the acapella back to me so that I can then mix that and master it, you know?
Okay. And that's
they're not just recording on the top of a mastered track, which is then going on to be like mastered for a project.
Right.
You know, if they have their own engineer and they have somebody that does their own mixing, then I will send them an unmastered version of that 2-track stereo wave file.
Got you. So you are an engineer yourself. Now, how
Yes,
important do you think it is for producers to mix and master their own tracks? Is it really that detrimental?
It's detrimental if you don't know what you're doing. I think, because I spent years, man. I spent years like with a copy of Fruity Loops and no knowledge of like real mixing and mastering techniques. I didn't know what compression really did.
Right.
You know, I didn't know about, you know, just simple like production techniques and tricks you would use, like, you know, cutting low end off of stuff so it's not interfering with your bass and your kick, so on and so forth.
Right.
You know, the use of effects and all that. So if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a bit dangerous. But at the end of the day, if it sounds good, it sounds good.
Right.
You know,
right. So basically what you're saying is you can make a beat that's not mixed and it sounds dope.
If it sounds dope, it sounds dope.
Sounds
yeah.
dope. Got you. This sounds
But
dope.
it's certainly advantageous if you're able to actually properly mix and master your own stuff. If you do have those skills, then you can really make your stuff sound that next level fucking better. Do you know what I mean?
Right. All right. So let's go into the process of sending beats to artists. Like, do you have a maximum beat? Like, I'm gonna send 10 beats to this artist, 20 beats, 30 beats. What makes a proper presentation for you to give to somebody?
I think it comes down to, first of all, me spending some time selecting the beats that I think that they would probably sound good on. You know, there's no point in sending somebody who raps over a lot of slow West Side Gun type of stuff at 75 BPM, something with the amen breaking at 115. You know, do you see what I'm saying? So I got hit up by an artist the other day, somebody I really respect and admire. I'm not dropping names, but what I will say is that I spent 4 or 5 days before I actually sent this person the beats, because I spent every night about 45 minutes a night listening to the stack of beats that I was going to send them and making sure that I had everything sounded dope, everything, you know, sounded consistent across the board. And also what I was sending them was things that I think would suit them, you know, would complement their style. So for me, that care package that I would send to an MC could be 10 beats, it could be 15, it could be 20. Probably no more than 20 though, because you know.
Now, is there ever butterflies in your stomach? Like, yo, I want to send this guy some dope stuff, but it's like, you know, I don't know if he's gonna like this. Do you ever second guess yourself?
Yeah, of course. I doubt I shouldn't say this, but yeah, like any person who's creative, you do doubt yourself at times. You sit there and think, you know I've got what it takes. I just, you know, do other people, you know, see that in me as well? And you know, when somebody really dope hits you up for beats, the last thing you want to do is shoot your shot and miss. You know, that's where you send the beats out and you're like, God damn, I fucking pray that something catches the ear, even if it's just one track of the 15. If it catch one, I'm happy with that. But yeah, of course, man, these beats I sent off to this person 3 or 4 days ago. Like, I was literally like, not nervous, but I was a bit like, oh, right, boom, send, fucking please, like.
Right. Because you know what's funny is some of the times the beats you leave off are the ones that they choose. You know what I mean? You've had that, like some of the beats, you'll make a beat package, you're like, yo, this is for him, but he'll choose the last beat on the tape that you just used to fill up the tape. You're like, you like that? But I gave you this, like, you know, this is for you, but you chose that.
Do you know, I've had so many rappers in the studio, and the amount of times we've been sat having a couple of beers and just going through beats, that kind of thing. And then they go, oh, what was that? And you're sitting going, man, that is some like bullshit 2-bar loop idea that I've got there that isn't even mixed. I'd like to hear all this beautiful stuff, and you're going to want to fucking run with this. And now I'm going to have to make it a beat right now and mix it to be ready to go for you to record. Fuck out of here, man.
Right. Okay, so you understand where I'm coming from. You like, yo, this is you right here. This is you. And they pick this, and I'm like, yo, I just do this on the tape just to fill the tape up.
Listen, at the end of the day, if that's what they want to do, and you know, when I've got guys in the studio, it's all paying clients. At the end of the day, they're paying for it. You know, that's what they want. Then that's what they want. And that's the nature of the beast, man.
Nature of the beast. So you say paying clients. So let me ask you a question. Is this what you do full time?
No, so I lecture audio engineering at a university here in Scotland.
Okay.
And I also run my studio as well. So I have clients coming in for mixing, mastering, recording,
right. Okay.
across a wide range of genres, man. It's a whole different range of stuff.
Right. So you do music for a living?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, got you. But not selling beats per se for a living.
No, I'm trying to do more than just kind of sell beats these days. That's kind of what I did in my 20s and stuff. I'm in my 30s now, so I've got a mortgage to pay in that. I need to, you know, be a bit more sustainable, you know. So that was the plan.
Yeah, definitely. So I know you hooked up with Hus Kingpin. How did you meet Hus Kingpin?
I've known Hus for a long time. So back in the MySpace days, so we're talking circa 2007, 2008. I started making a lot of tunes with Smooth, and obviously him and Hus were together in The Connection. So that's how I knew Hus. Although there was a long period of time, sort of through the early 2010s, where we probably didn't communicate at all, really. And then I did a remix for him a couple of years back, about 3 years ago, and from there things just started to, you know, kind of just picked up and started snowballing from there. It's been pretty wild. The last year with Hus, man. He's a good guy. He really is a good guy.
Yeah, because me and him, we're from the same area. I'm based in Charlotte, but I'm originally from Long Island, New York as well. From like Hustle Smooth. We're in the same little area or whatever. You know, I definitely rock with them real heavily or whatever. So who are you looking at as a beat maker, producer? Who do you like right now that's doing a thing? Who you like?
Got Hus, got Smooth.
Well, we're talking beat maker wise. You know,
beat making wise. So beat makers I'm into at the moment. Getting really into Stu Bangers. Stu makes some good beats, man. Stu makes some good beats, man. He's real good. Who else am I listening to at the moment? Prince P. Prince P, by the way.
Prince P is ill. Yes, he's very ill. He did a lot of the Art of Sex 2. Because you were on the Art of Sex 1, right? The first one, right?
I was on 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah, 1 and 2, right. Yeah, you were on 1 and 2, right. Yep, you were. Yeah.
He was on
Prince P. Yeah, Prince P was on 3. Who else?
Yeah, man. He's good. Who else am I listening to a lot at the moment? Production wise. See, the thing is, I've been listening a bit of Harry Fraud. I listen a bit of Static Select as well. I always like Static Select's beats. Real soulful, but he's always got quite interesting drums for me. Marco Polo's another guy that I really quite admire.
Quiet, but he's been kind of quiet lately. He's not been putting out a lot of output like he used to back in the day.
I think he's focusing more on I think he's doing another instrumental tape. MP on the MP part 2, I think. I gathered that from his Insta stories. I may be wrong. But yeah, he's pretty dope. And yeah, just a lot of more classic stuff as well. I'll be honest with you, like I listen to quite a bit of hip hop, but because I'm involved in so many other genres of music, I listen to a lot of other stuff as well. It's not just primarily, you know, sort of hip hop that I listen to, but yeah, those would be certainly some producers. Shout out to Prince P though, man. I sent him some beats, so I'm hoping him and I are going to hook up on some stuff moving forward, either end of this year or into next year. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But that'd be dope, man, because he's also spit some good bars, man.
Yeah, he rhymes too. I didn't realize. I think on Twitter he's Cashmere P, right? Is that the same guy on Twitter, Cashmere P? Yeah, he's a riot. He's a riot on Twitter. Oh, he's a riot on Twitter. You know what I mean? He's definitely a riot on Twitter. So what advice would you give to upcoming beat makers that's in their bedroom trying to get into this game? What would you say?
Just go for it. Just message people if you've got beats, just reach out to people, network. You know, I'm sure that, you know, I got my start by just reaching out to people in the MySpace days, you know, and I think once you get, you know, a couple of connections and you get a couple of like releases out, that's where it, you know, starts to snowball. So for me, it would just be shoot your shot, man. It's like, if you've got a rapper that you really like, message them, hit them up.
Would you say give them beats for free? Is that how you started, giving the beats for free?
Yeah, man. And I still do sort out, you know, some artists with free beats because of the longevity of our relationships and the amount of work that we do together. You know, some artists I charge for because I don't know them, I don't have any working relationship with them, you know. So it depends. But I mean, when you're up and coming and you don't really have any name for yourself or any back catalog, any sort of credibility in the bank or whatever, then you're probably going to have to give away some for free. But I mean, you've got platforms like BeatStars and all this kind of stuff. You know, there's nothing to stop you putting your shit up there and trying to sell it. You know?
Yeah, because I've seen BeatStars, but it's like, you know, in my opinion, sometimes I don't want to whore myself out to just owe anybody who's just want to buy a beat. I have to like you. You know what I mean? I have to like what you do. I don't want to whore myself out. You know what I mean? Because that record lasts forever. Do you feel that way too sometimes?
I don't see it the same way. I look at it as revenue streams. You know, at the end of the day, you could try and give this beat away to 10 rappers and none of them want it, but there could be 15 people online that quite happily download it and pay $29.99 for a non-exclusive license.
Now, do you do
what
that?
Do you care? I thought about it, but then I realized that it was more about sort of paying for the actual subscription service to get the promotion and all that with it. And I don't really have like a big following on Instagram or Twitter. Never have done. I've been quite a sort of under the radar, sort of doing my thing for many years. But yeah, I wasn't cool with the subscription idea of it all for the promotion side of it. It's just like, fuck it.
So I want to ask you another question, because I know you're a digger and things like that. You don't have to answer this question. I ask a lot of people this question. Are you clearing samples? Okay, that's it. Okay.
Well, unless it's from Sample Pack, then there are certain guidances. If you're going to use the Sample Pack stuff, they'll usually say, you know, to be credited or whatever.
Okay. But, listen, say no more.
Say no more.
Say no more. That's all I want to know. You know what I mean? Things like that. But yo, you know, I'm glad I got to reach out to you, because you I guess you learned about me when I did the review of Kingpin, his album or whatever, which is I think was the firm album, right? And I've heard about your name for a minute, you know, and with my platform, I'm all about the beat makers. I'm all about putting the beat maker first, because a lot of times we're left in the background. You know, we don't know what the beat maker look like. A lot of times these artists, they take the beats, they make money, and the beat maker is stuck working a job. You know what I mean? Trying to come up. And there's a lot of beat makers that did, you know, notable stuff on a lot of these guys who are doing big things. So, you know, and it bothers me, the fact that this guy, he's going around touring the world, getting money, and the beat maker is stuck working a 9 to 5 somewhere. You know, where this guy's rhyming over his beats, you know. So this platform is really for us, you know, and I think it's kind of unique, you know, my platform. I don't know how many people are doing something like this, but nowadays, when people see this, don't be surprised if they walk up to you in the grocery store, you Macapella, because they know what you look like now. You know what I mean? Now we can place a face to the beat, you know?
Yeah, I usually tend to shy away from, not shy away is the wrong word. I just kind of choose to not to, you know, you'll see that on my Instagram page. It's all shots of what's kind of like going on in front of me from my perspective, but never like sort of me sitting there with the camera going, hey guys, I'm sitting here making a beat just now. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just not my thing. Like
I feel you, but I'm just here to give you your flowers.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
And this is what this platform is for, because it's beat maker. It's like Fubu Force by us, but it's a beat maker for beat makers. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I want us to get our flowers and to be respected and appreciated for what we bring to the table. I mean, Huss has an impeccable ear for beats, obviously. You have an impeccable ear for samples, and you need to be appreciated, you know, for that, you know. And I'm one of the ones that I have to reach out to you and say, hey, man, I appreciate what you do. I love what you do. I like what you do. I love what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Don't stop. I want to hear you on many more projects and things like that, man. So don't think you're ever underappreciated because you have someone in your corner. I'm in your corner.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
You know, I'm definitely in your corner and things like that. So, listen, man, yo, I want to thank you for just taking time out of your busy schedule. You're going to be on season 2. Season 2 premieres in January 1st, 2022. And I had to sneak you in real quick because season 2 is pretty much almost done, but I had to get Macapella on.
No, man, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for everything that you're doing for the beat makers, and most importantly for the culture as well.
Yeah.
It's really important. And no, I mean, thank you for the invite, and thank you for your time. Well, what time is it for you? Be like 3 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, something like that?
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right. Salute, my big guy. Love y'all, man. Peace.
All right, bro. Thank you. Peace.
I'm gonna tell you now, I ain't no holy individual, but I am righteous. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not gonna steal from you, I'm not gonna cheat you. I'm gonna tell you the truth, whether you like it